All right, guys, I am going to play lawyer slash publicist for the MCR team. Vince Friese has been vilified this week. Is it just? I don't know. Um, this is me showing how I would defend him. There's two sides to everything. It's not all bad with Vince Friese. Vince Friese he's a pretty good dude from what I've seen. I don't know him very well, but I have had a couple conversations with him, and he's always been polite. He's always, I don't know. So anyway, here goes. I'm going to do my best Johnny Cochran, and if the glove acquits, the glove does not fit, you must acquit. Is that what it was? Yeah. Glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. This would be my opening statement or if I was going to go in and talk to Jeremy Albrecht, if I'm MCR. So this is not necessarily my opinion on all this stuff, but I'm just telling you what I would say and how I would defend Vince. Hey guys, hey, I saw, that was a pretty gnarly incident, but let's take a look at it from our side. Vince Friese is a class act. He's everything we want in this sport. He's a family man. He works his ass off. He's been around since 2008. He rides for an independent team. We all need more independent teams. So why vilify someone who's been around and literally just grinding it out for year after year? I can understand, yes, Vince made some very poor decisions early in his career. But let's not forget, we're talking 2008, 9, 10. He's still being judged for what he did back then. He's not being judged. He's being unfairly judged on propaganda. There's a lot of propaganda about Vince. It just so happens that a couple of the former racers that he had issues with in those early days are now media guys and seem to have an axe to grind with him. He was vilified and it was a bad move when he took out Weston Pike. But there has been no clip played more than Vince getting pounded by Weston Pike. Yet somehow Vince is the bad guy for not throwing punches and being a respectable adult and representing kids that you don't fist fight on the track. How is that a bad thing? The next year, Jason Anderson on an incident where it wasn't necessarily Vince's fault, but just on reputation, Jason Anderson threw a punch at him. Did Vince throw a punch back? No, he rode away. That was the incident. He has been since 2016 with Weston Pike. I would argue Vince has been a model citizen. He hasn't taken people out. He's gotten better. He's worked harder. A lot of riders hit their late 20s and start to go downhill. Vince has figured out a way to get better and actually become, he's a legitimate podium contender this year. So the prejudice, it's not due for what he did. The punishment does not fit the crime. Let's not forget, the week before at Anaheim, Vince had a podium up until the last lap, I believe, lost it in the whoops, and took a fork tube to the cranium, then a foot peg to the cranium. He was clearly concussed. He almost fell back onto the track. By definition, that's a concussion. Can we all agree concussions have a couple side effects? One is impaired judgment, and another is impulse control. So you're going to let a guy, you're going to blame my guy for making a bad judgment and maybe not controlling an impulse when he maybe got hot on the track, but he somehow passed your concussion protocol? I would argue we need to take a look more at that than we do necessarily about what Vince did on Saturday. While I'm not justifying what Vince did, why does the track even have sand going in there at like 60 miles an hour? That was crazy. You take a supercross bike with supercross suspension, which is extremely stiff, send those guys in there that fast, it's like shooting through glass. It's going to change the direction. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if Vince completely just lost control. Only Vince knows that. Was he aiming to kill Christian Craig? I sure don't think so. It ruined his race too, and he was for sure podium. I think it was a mistake, but I'm not here to justify the move. I'm saying the punishment doesn't fit the crime. the vilification of my rider is unneeded, unwarranted, and does damage to our team at MCR. Vince is not a serial offender. He was in his early days, but he isn't anymore. Can you name 2 incidents since 2016 after the Weston Pike incident where Vince was directly at fault or did something blatantly wrong that other riders haven't done 2 or 3 times that night? I don't think so. And when you're racing that hard with that much at stake, sometimes you make bad decisions. You're talking about fractions of a second. For people to be calling for Vince to be suspended for the rest of the year is ludicrous. Ludicrous. Why? He's a brilliant story. If we could focus more on the story of Vince and what he's overcome to be where he is, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, this guy's going against Christian Craig, Hunter Lawrence, Joe Schmoda. This is Vince Friese. This is a guy who was battling to make 250 main events when he started his career. He has worked his way through the system. This system isn't designed to let guys build from that type of a rider to a factory rider or even a podium finisher. There's only been a couple guys in the history of this sport. Ironically, one of them is Weston Pike. And Vince is also in that same category. So we need to celebrate this man instead of vilifying him. So with that, give Vince a hand. Give him a little forgiveness. He made a mistake. That's all. Okay, so that's exactly what I would do if I was MCR, and that's how I would approach it. And yeah, I think it was a horrible decision to make that pass. It was bad. But you can't, like, the guy's going for it. He made a mistake. I haven't seen, if you just look back, go look at that Pike incident. That was bad. Since that incident, there really haven't been many issues with Vince. So for people to be calling for him to be kicked out of the sport and banned, hype. I'm sorry. He's a victim of reputation.